Hi, welcome back to Enigma. In this video, we'll explore an interesting aspect of language learning, which is working memory. So, what is working memory? Working memory refers to our brain's capability of memorizing and processing perceived signals simultaneously, which plays a vital role in language learning because our brain has to memorize perceived utterances and try to extract linguistic rules from them. In particular, many previous research have found it to be a key factor in learning a second or foreign language. Here is a quick explanation for how working memory works in language learning and process. When learners of English perceive the utterance, "Tom tells Jimmy that he only slept for 4 hours," they will store this utterance in their short-term memory and learn the reference of he. In this case, it is preferably Tom. Working memory capacity varies across individuals, which helps shape a different developmental progress. In this test, you can measure your own working memory capacity and understand a part of your cognitive abilities, which is one of the main benefits of being a challenger in Enigma. If you have already signed up and verified your challenger account, you probably saw something at the corner of the homepage titled Working Memory High Score. Your test results of working memory should be listed here as well as stored in the Enigma server. When you participate in this working memory test, you also agree to share the anonymous results of your most recent working memory test to the challenges that you have completed, so their experimenters could further analyze the influences of working memory on language learning. As usual, your working memory measures will be delinked before they are shared with the experimenters, who thus cannot map the measures of your account or even identity. If you haven't taken the test, the score underneath would be none, so to test your working memory capacity, click Test WM and let the challenge start. The first thing you'll see once you start the test is a brief introduction to the working memory test, which includes a general explanation of working memory that we have just reviewed, the procedure of the test, and your right as a challenger. The working memory test goes as follows. After clicking Start Working Memory Test, there would be a 5-second countdown before the actual test begins. After the test begins, a cross sign would appear at the center of the screen for 1 second at the beginning of each trial. This cross serves as the eye fixation sign as well as the hint for the next trial. The visual information would appear in the position of the cross sign, so try to focus on the cross so you can respond to the formulae as quick and natural as possible. After the cross sign disappears, you will see randomly generated mathematical formulae and their results one by one, such as -2 times -7 equals -14. When you see a formula, you need to first judge if the calculation is correct or not, and at the same time, you also need to memorize the result of the calculation, whether right or wrong. Each formula will appear at the center of the screen for 5 seconds, and you need to complete your judgment within 5 seconds. If you're using a computer, you can type A if the formula is correct or L if incorrect. If you're using a mobile device, you can tap correct or incorrect buttons near the bottom of the web page to respond. With either response in 5 seconds or without a valid response after 5 seconds, the test will proceed to the next trial automatically. After you make your judgment on a group of formulae and their results, you will be asked to recall the result numbers from the group of formulae you have just seen within a given amount of time. You will see a group of numbers in your screen, and you will have to follow the correct order and click or tap the result numbers. For example, assuming that you first see -2 times -7 equals -14, and then -4 times -4 equals 16, you will have to first click or tap -14 and then 16 among all the numbers showing on your screen. If you cannot complete your choices within the time limit, the test will proceed automatically to the next group of formulae, and those remaining choices will be counted as incorrect choices since no correct responses are given. As each group of formulae expands gradually, you will have to memorize and recall more result numbers over time. The time limit will thus be lengthened gradually to give you enough time to think carefully and recall numbers from your memory. At the very beginning of the test, each group only contains 2 formulae, and the number will increase gradually as the test proceeds. So will the difficulty of the test. The test includes a total of 105 formulae, and it takes about 30 minutes or less to complete. However, if you fail to judge or recall 50% of the test items correctly in 3 groups in a row, it means you probably have reached the limit of your working memory capacity, and the test will terminate before it reaches the end. The measure of your working memory capacity is the sum of the number of correctly judged formulae and the number of correctly recalled result numbers. If a result number is recalled in an incorrect order, the user gets 0.5 point. If the number is simply a wrong number, no point is given. The full marks are 210 points. If you wish to end the test halfway through, you can simply close the browser tab or click or tap the End Test button on the top left corner. Enigma will not store any data if you manually terminate the test session. To review your performance in the working memory test and compare your working memory performance to that of other challengers by age in Enigma, you can check the History page or in the working memory section in your Challenger dashboard. The first block records the results of the most recent 7 results for you, so you could track the variation in your working memory capacity at different ages. The second block records your most recent test results, including your age when taking the test, your score, the time spent on taking the test, and how long until you could take the test again. Note that you could measure your working memory capacity for every 30 days. You can also see the high score you have got so far in this test, so you can see whether your working memory is improving or, unfortunately, declining. The third block tells you about the average age and score of Enigma users who have taken the working memory test. You can compare your own performances to those of others for reference. The age group you belong to will be marked with a different color. That's all for the working memory test. If you are ready for it, click Test WM to begin.